From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and today we have the pleasure of having Brian Hahn as our guest. And Brian,
Hi.
So nice to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
And I'm going to give your title. You are actually the manager of the Runnels Gallery, and that's located here on the campus of ENMU at the
Yes.
Golden Student Success Center.
Yes.
And then also, you're the curator of the University Art Collection.
Yes.
That's a very long title to fit on a card.
Yeah. I've got to use small text.
Well, tell me a little bit about your background.
Oh, goodness. Well, I am native to New Mexico. I was born in Albuquerque and eventually kind of moved to the side of the state where I went to school here.
Oh, okay.
And I studied theater and dance in my undergraduate. Went off to Dallas, worked for a dance company for a while, and was wanting to move up in the world. And I was like, I need more education. So I came back and worked on a master's in communication, and got hooked on art and haven't left since.
And that was kind of an interesting tidbit. I spoke with Jeff Gentry this morning. He said he had taken a ballroom dancing class with you. And so you're still involved
I do everything.
You're still doing that. But when you stepped in, is Runnels where you first took a position at the university?
Oh, well, I started in the Department of Art. I was an administrative assistant there, and I was teaching part-time as well, and while I was working on a master's. And I kind of fell into the role by accident. So that was in 2009, they had the fiscal kind of crisis. And, we had the, 5 or 10% state cuts across the board. And our gallery manager at the time had just resigned. He was moving on to another endeavor. And I think it was a week or two later, the position was froze. And there was nobody to do it. And we were kind of left in this position that either somebody takes care of it or we just don't have a gallery.
So don't want to lose that.
No, and I have been doing design work for years before that, and so I had a background in art and design, and I thought you can't have this space disappear. It's so central to what we do in art. So I kind of fell into it, and it's stuck.
well, you do a tremendous job and bring a lot of things to the university and to the communities.
Oh, I love it.
All over. Yeah, it comes through too. I mean,
it's such an honor to be able to connect people with art. And it's transformative, and it's everywhere in our life. I mean, all aspects. Art and design is everywhere.
Well, and I had the pleasure of coming over to GSSC yesterday and walking through the display. But so talk to me about how you come up with, when you started to think about the overview for the Form, Function, Fabric exhibit, how did that come about?
So I've been wanting to do something with textiles for a while, particularly clothing, and I've been looking for a costume designer. I thought, well, let's find somebody that does big kind of over-the-top gowns.
For theater productions.
Yes, because I was like, well, there's kind of a tie-in there. There's the element of art and design, and then the theater side, and so there would be multiple areas across campus that could be served in that endeavor. Could never find a costumer that had a big enough collection of work, and so I started to think a little bit more like, well, what else could I do that there would be access to things?
Sure.
And I came across the idea of wedding dresses. It actually started with my mother's dress, which I have here. I brought today. I came across it in the closet, and I thought, everyone's got a wedding dress, and there was a period of time where people didn't go out and commercially buy their dress. People were either they made it, or a loved one made it, or a local seamstress made it.
Right.
I thought that's the direction to go, and it just fell into place as soon as I started kind of sniffing around and looking for dresses. It took a little while, but then once kind of the word got out, they started falling into place, and it got to a point where I was like, I can't take anymore. I only have so much space in the gallery.
Well, and you selected 15,
Yes.
and that was going to be something. How did you come up? I mean, did you just start putting feelers out of saying who has something or where are these?
Yeah, well, I started with a social media or Facebook ad, which is one of the ways I found a designer in Albuquerque. But probably the most successful means was word of mouth. And so Betty Williamson, who is a local favorite, who knows everybody.
Who knows everybody in the whole state, I
yeah,
think.
she
plus.
is greatly connected. She was really a key player there because as soon as she said something, it's like then everybody knew.
Right, that's true.
So, yeah. But, part of it, word of mouth and just getting it out there in our online advertising. And things start to trickle in. And I wish I could have taken everything. I mean, there were things that we ultimately passed on just largely because of space.
Right.
You know,
because truly the 15 dresses in the gallery was very nice. And coming into the gallery, it gives you such a different feel and experience.
Yes.
I mean, I love that you brought a sampling today,
Yes.
but the display there is just magnificent on what you do on all your exhibits that come in.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, and I hope that when people come in, that they have that experience where it's a happy place to be. They want to spend some time looking at the work, and want them to feel like that they can be at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I think museums and galleries can feel a little stuffy. Yeah, and I get that. I mean, it's the gravity of what you're looking at, and that can give you that feeling. But when you can go to a space where you feel good, that's my goal.
Why did you focus on handcrafted versus manufactured? Because of the historical aspect, or what was it, Brian?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, for a long time, wedding dresses were made, by hand, someone you knew, and it was really around the 70s or 80s between the 70s and 80s, it became more commercialized, and they had this big kind of industrial complex of like, let's make a lot of money, we can mass produce dresses. But prior to that, that was a skill that you had, or your mother had, or someone, and I thought that that's something to kind of revisit because it does combine both art and design with a skill that is useful. I mean, it's practical.
Right. I mean, typically a lot of clothes were made.
Yeah.
We wore clothes that our mothers or grandmothers made for years.
Well,
there wasn't store-bought.
Well, that's what my mom would. She would talk about her dress. She was younger. She, everything was made for her. I mean, her mother made her wedding dress. She made all her cheerleading uniforms, her school clothes. Even when she went off to college, she was still making her clothes. And part of it was out of necessity.
Right.
And have a lot of money, what do you do? But it was also just still something that people did. And I know when she talked about it later in life, she looked back with fondness. It's because then it was something like, wow, this was made with love, and no one else has this. I have the only one.
I think this exhibit spoke a little extra to me. My best friend, her mother, her wedding dress was during the World War II.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get silk, and her wedding dress was made out of a parachute.
Oh, wow.
Because that was one of the, and after this exhibit came out, I thought that would have been such an amazing dress because it literally was a parachute from World War II that was made into the dress.
Well, and that's just thinking
The
outside
stories.
the box.
Right. Where do I get the fabric?
What do you do? That's a beautiful story.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Making do with what you have.
Right.
And I think that was the spirit too. I mean, depending on where you were in your economic standing, most people really had to make some creative choices.
And did each one of the dresses you select, did they come with a personal story?
Mostly, yes.
Most of them did.
And some more unique than others. But, at the bottom line is that they were all made, out of love. I think that's the one kind of common thread that runs through them all. And that when people would talk about them, there was a sense of joy. It's like, they were proud that they had made it themselves, or and they talked about their mother or a grandmother or a good friend or the local seamstress. I mean, it just radiated such joy talking about that. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool.
Well, you shared one that there was a dress that's on display that has a ton of embroidery work, and it was someone was making the dress and wasn't able to finish it.
Yes,
correct?
so the mother of the bride was making the dress, and it's this beautiful kind of satin with all this embroidery. In particular, around the top, there's embroidered doves and hearts, and then this really nice intricate work around the base of the skirt. And I believe the family had an emergency. I think there was a family member that had fallen ill, and so the mother had to go back and care for them. And so a community of women who sewed and did quilting came together and helped to finish this dress. So it had many, many hands on it.
Everybody had buy-in.
Yeah, I mean, and that just makes it that much more personal for the bride, for anyone who's wearing something
Sure.
like that, because it is a big day. And,
It is.
And dresses there, it's ceremonial, you know, and oftentimes steeped in tradition. You know,
And that whole community had buy-in.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We have a piece, we have ownership in this.
Well, and that's something too, you know, when you, later on, when you pull that out of the closet, not to say that going to a store and buying something commercially, there's still memories there, especially if you go with friends or family.
Right.
But there's just something about, I think, reflecting on something that's been made by someone near and dear to you, or in that case, had many hands of people that cared about the bride.
And I'm going to guess that this is seldom an article of clothing that people dispose of easily.
I
mean, it's tucked. I bet some of the shapes that these came in had to be.
Yes.
They've been in boxes because the time frame. Do you remember what the earliest time frame of one that was
Would
made?
have been 1966.
Okay, that was
Now,
your earliest.
Yeah, and now she really took care of her dress. It was probably one of the ones that came in the best shape. But yeah, from 1966, and then we had a smattering through the 70s and 80s, and then starts to kind of taper off. Of course, would parallel with the time that dresses started becoming
That's
more
true.
commercially made. But yeah, some of them came in, and even though they were like in preserved boxes, there's just still, I mean, when you took them out, they're wrinkled.
They are.
All the satin and lace, everything is crinkled up. So, and that happens, you know, if they haven't been out of the box in 20 years.
And some were probably never cleaned after the wedding, so of course the bottom of them are dirty. And
Yeah, there's one that's got
you know.
on the bottom of it, it looks like lipstick, like
Sure.
someone kissed it.
Well, maybe putting it on.
Possibly.
You know, all those
yeah.
different things. But and the connection, the craftsmanship of this, do you feel like it connects to certain time periods within or certain? There was one dress. It was a blue double knit,
Yes, yes.
which was the 60s.
That was, I want to say it was going into the early 70s.
And you said
yeah.
they lived in a communal type.
Yes, so that was definitely had a kind of bohemian chic feel to it, and a non-traditional color was kind of that a light, almost powder blue with
Right.
some golden trim along the bottom and on the sleeves, and you know, and that one was a really interesting story because the woman that made the dress for the bride wasn't necessarily like a close personal friend, but she was a member of this commune,
Right.
and so everyone had to bring some sort of, you know, skill or something together that they offered, and that's what this woman did. She was a seamstress. She sewed,
And a
she made
reflection
dress.
of the late 60s,
Oh,
early
yeah,
70s.
definitely.
That was perfect.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of bohemian hippie feel to it. So
Well, you selected 3 gowns to bring today.
yes.
So talk to me about these and kind of tell me why you chose to select the ones you did.
Well, I wanted to find an offering of dresses that were over a period of time. So we have one that was in 1974, which was my mother's dress that started all of this. It was made by her mother, Alpha Bell Smith, and that was not made from a pattern.
Wow, just
So, and very reminiscent of the 70s, where there was more understated elegance, some kind of Victorian revival. Also at the time, you know, it was affordability. So she had, it's the lace that, it's polyester, but it looks like lace. And of course, that thing has stand the test of time. You know, polyester, like roaches and Twinkies, will be here forever. So after we're all gone,
and your
it will
mother's
be
and
here.
your mother's wedding dress.
Yes, yes, it'll still be here. So, but I think that was I selected that one. And there's sentimental value there.
Very much.
But in counting, or when she would recount the stories, you know, they just didn't have a lot. You know, and so her mother was able to make her this dress, you know, that looked beautiful, but was able to do it without breaking the bank.
Sure.
You know. But again, that definitely that kind of a revival of the Victorian period and modesty and a nice soft necked and long sleeves that had, you know, some flow to it, but not overdone. And then, you know, we have the dress from Marilyn Joy, and she made it for the bride, Allison Brady. And Marilyn has a connection to Portales. Her husband was the longtime athletic director for ENMU, Bill Joy.
Bill Joy, and if you ever heard him talk, you remember he was a very loud, boisterous
Well,
man.
and so she had a life of her own. I mean, she was a seamstress there, and her hands touched a lot of brides' dresses over the years.
How
so,
cool is that?
But now that dress she made was in '91, and it was coming off the '80s, where everything was big, lots
Big
of
and
volume,
big and
over the
poofy
top.
and-
And so there's this transitional period where, in the dress you can see that the sleeves are dialed back. There's still the volume in the sleeves, but they're dialed back. A bit more modesty, the overlay with the satin underneath and the lace giving it some depth. So definitely a transitional period in bridal design. And then, of course, we have our most kind of non-traditional dress from Sarah Tafoya out of Albuquerque. She made it for herself in 2019, and she's a professional seamstress. And she was talking about, she had made everybody's dresses or altered them for years.
And she's relatively young.
Yes.
So,
and so when it came time to make her own dress, or when she got married, she's like, I'm gonna make my own. I've been doing it for everybody else all this time. Now it's my turn.
and I'm not going with white.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. She definitely is reflective of, I think, more contemporary styles that we're breaking away from this idea that everything has to be white. White is still relatively a new concept. That was not always the thing in bridal wear, but definitely over the last several decades, it's like you get married in white.
That's all I remember.
Yeah, and well, same here. When we were talking yesterday, I had a neighbor that when she got married, I remember seeing her wedding photos, and she had this beautiful dress that was like blood red. And I had never seen something. I was like, is that what you got married in? She's like, yes. And I was like, why? Why isn't it white? She said, this is what I wanted.
Yeah,
And
this
I
is
thought,
what makes me feel
yeah,
beautiful.
Exactly.
And it is a reflection of the brides.
Very much so.
You could see that yesterday of the different styles, and you kind of had an idea of what maybe like more, some were much more, what do you say when you don't want to show everything? Much more
Modest.
conservative,
Yeah,
modest, conservative.
Yes.
And like you said, we didn't see the really over-the-top ones that you see today.
Yeah.
But
I definitely think the modest issue is a reflection of the time.
Very much so.
Depending on where you are, there's the covering. But even then, modesty can be interpreted in all sorts of ways. So, you might be covered, but then, you have silhouettes that are form-fitting and show the shape of the body,
well,
the silhouette.
and something else, typically most weddings in my time frame were always in a church, and that's kind of stepped away from. Many weddings are not held in a church anymore. They're outside or at a venue or a special location.
Well, and I think that too influences
So
decisions
maybe being
there.
modest in the church.
Yes.
You might wear something different if it's not in that setting.
Well, but that's the thing too. I think with bridal fashion is that because it's cultural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's the larger culture of now, like Western culture here in the U.S. But you start breaking it down into individual, different. Ethnicities, time periods, and all of this really is driven culturally, or things that your values, your family, tradition, it shapes, I think, the way dresses are ultimately designed.
Well, and with this black gown, truly with Sarah, that was a reflection of her personality.
Oh, and I got to meet her in person a couple of days ago. She drove in from Albuquerque to come see the show, and as soon as I met her and started talking to her, I was like, okay, I can see you made this dress.
And you said
she was just really cool.
and you said that she found 6 yards of fabric.
Yes.
And so she could not mess up.
Yeah, she when she was hunting for fabric, she ended up at Joann's Fabric, and she found a bolt that was like 70% off, and she's like, this is it. This is what I want. And they only had 6 yards left, and it was something that was discontinued. So, it wasn't like she could order it if she needed more. And I asked her, I was like, well, gosh, isn't that pressure? There's really no room for error. And she's like, yeah, you just make it work, which you can see in her sleeves there. She originally had, I think, a plan to have that fabric present in the sleeve, but she just didn't have enough. And so she had to kind of revisit her.
But the sheer
plans.
sleeves.
Oh, I think it worked out in the end.
And the covered buttons, how many, like 60 or 70 hand-covered buttons down the back?
144 buttons she made.
I missed that, didn't I?
Yeah. She got the patience of a saint.
But a masterpiece.
Yes.
And it truly is. When you walked into the gallery, it was the first thing you saw.
Yeah.
And then surrounded with all the white and the off-white and the one blue.
Yes.
So, that is just cool, so cool. And truly, I think that the gowns are a reflection of art. They truly are.
Definitely.
I know the sensibility of something that you can wear and be comfortable, but they're very artistic. That's your day as a bride to shine.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is arts goes beyond just what we might see in a more formal setting in a museum or a gallery. Art can also be functional. It can have a utilitarian aspect to it, and that's certainly with gowns. I mean, they're functional. We wear them for something, but they are a work of art. It's a work of art that we wear, and all the different principles and elements of art and design that govern the process are all clearly present when you are designing and constructing a gown. It's very methodical.
When you set up that exhibit, what is your thought process? And we're getting low on time, but what is your thought process of setting up the exhibit? Like when you set up something, what is your thought process of doing that?
Well, I'm always thinking about our campus community first, and then our much bigger, broader community beyond the campus, and being able to connect people to as many different forms of art.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a rural area, and so sometimes access to art design can be limited. And so for us, it's really important to make sure that we have a variety of things to be seen. And with this particular exhibition, as we were talking yesterday, I want to be able to show people or kind of communicate the idea that art is present in many things. And so if you're studying art, you don't just have to be a painter or a ceramicist or a photographer. I mean, you can take those skills that you learn in the classroom, or when you come into a gallery and you see something and you're inspired, you can take that and translate it into other things like making a gown. I mean, it's everywhere.
And if people haven't been to the gallery, it is so nice. You've got a solid wall of glass.
Yes.
And so the clouds are New Mexico clouds, and that blue sky yesterday with some clouds, and the backdrop was just breathtaking with the gowns.
We are very fortunate to be in that space. I've a couple times I've been across the highway and I can see in there and I'm like, wow.
Tell me the hours that the gallery is open.
So we are open pretty much any time that the GSSC is open.
Okay.
So right now in the fall semester, Monday through Thursday, we're open 8 a.m. to midnight. Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturdays, it's noon to 5, and Sundays, noon to 9.
So people can just wander through.
Yeah.
And
it's free, and it's open to the public.
And how, if people are on the website, is there a website to go to or something? I know it's a little difficult for me to get to.
So the best thing is to visit our short link, which is enmu.edu/Runnels Gallery.
Okay, and that takes you,
yes.
and I mean, you bring exhibits to campus all the time, so of different varying things.
Yeah, and if you can't make it to campus, we have our virtual visit, which is not the same as being there in person, but.
And that's what I found, because I had done that before I walked through it, and it was not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good, and I'm glad I had it, and if that was my only option. But
yeah, I would say if you have the option to come in, you should come in.
You should come in, by all means. You're missing out on a lot. And tell me this. What do you hope on this exhibit? What do you hope that visitors carry away from them of the experience of the form, function, and fabric of this exhibit? What do you want to inspire or draw out into your visitors?
That's a good question. I hope that after somebody comes into the gallery, I hope that they've enjoyed what they've seen, but I hope that they feel that art and design is accessible, that for themselves, not just to look at, but that they see something and they are inspired and they go back into their life and they create. And that any of us, all of us, it doesn't matter our training or our ability, we all have the capacity to be creative and we have the capacity to create. And I hope that people, when they look at these gowns, will feel inspired to go make something, have an idea, great.
And whatever whether it's ceramics or pottery or jewelry or fabric, that is artistic.
Everything. I mean, you can crochet.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't, landscaping, everything. There's art and design in all aspects of our life.
I agree.
So that's what I hope that they get from this.
Well, it was a treat yesterday walking through with you and
It was a pleasure as well.
having discussions into where all
Yes.
this flows over. So and I would highly recommend anybody to take advantage
Yeah,
of the
definitely
gallery.
come in.
Come in and take advantage of all the exhibits that you do such a nice job on.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for being my guest this morning.
That was an honor. It was
How
definitely an
fun. We'll do
honor.
another one.
I hope so.
And for all of you watching, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. And a thank you to our ENMU students that this is part of their learning process through broadcast and journalism. And we will catch you next time. Cheers.